I used to hate coming to these things. I just felt like, man, I don't get anything out of them a lot of times. So the last 3 years, I've done this section. And every year, what I've done is about 5 years ago, whenever I'm at an event or I'm talking on a call, an investment call, or a strategy call, I'll text myself or email myself something that really made me think. And then I try to pass that on to you guys or to my kids or to my family and friends. So that's really what this quick little run through is about. Then we'll jump into the panels and we'll start the day off. And I'll do this again tomorrow with a few things. I'm on a call, Sheryl Sandberg's on a call, and someone asked her, what got her out there? Sheryl Sandberg, you guys know, CEO of Facebook. What got her out there? She was working for Larry Summers, and I thought it was an interesting story, and it relates a lot to, I think, where we're at in ag. She was working for Larry Summers, Fed guy, big banker. I think she's a Harvard girl, I'm pretty sure. High accolades, gets out, works in the banking side. She's all dressed up, goes to a suit and tie banking event, like usual. I speak at a lot of them. They fly her, she had a luncheon, they fly her to the West Coast for dinner. They said there's some things happening on the West Coast with a few companies. We want you to go out there and kind of report back to us. She said she left the meeting in New York, flies out, she's there for dinner. She gets off the plane, someone's supposed to be picking her up. She looks around, she said, I'm like, my ride's not here. There's a guy over here waving. He's standing next to a Jeep, no top on it. He's got jeans on, t-shirt. She's like, wow, surely that's not who I came out here to meet. And it was Eric Schmidt, the CEO, they named me CEO of Google at the time, about 27 years ago. She said she goes there, they go to a bar, get pizza. Jerry Yang shows up, the founder of Yahoo, a couple other big tech people. She flies back. She says, I tell my husband, I said, hey, I think I've got this all wrong. She's like, there's people out here that are making decisions that are going to change our world, that are going to change America. And I think I got to shift and I got to make the jump and go that direction. So she gets hired by Google. She's the one that started Google AdWords. She took that ball and ran, switched over to Facebook. And she talks a lot about old guard versus new guard. And I feel we're kind of at that spot in ag. I feel like the old guard is getting rattled up a little bit and the new guard is coming in. And the new guard's doing things different. Our kids, these millennials, are wanting different things. We used to grow whatever we wanted to grow, and the consumer had to pick and would buy what we grew. That's not the case. Now they're going to dictate what we grow, what's in it, how we grow it, and that's what they're going to want to purchase. And I sat in a meeting this morning, and I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's what you need. We have to hear. You have to hear this and understand. You have to figure out where you're at in this continuum in the ag space, because it's moving and evolving quick. We weren't early adopters of tech, like, say, Silicon Valley, but it's definitely pushing into our space. And I think it's something that I pride myself on challenging you guys on what you think. You don't want me you don't want me to be another algorithm that just sends you what you want to see, do you? I hope not. I hope I challenge you guys and make you take a different perspective or look at things from a little different perspective. And I know that's where we'll butt heads with folks, but that's good. That's what we want to do. I know Tom and I are going to put the gloves on this, in this next panel. I've been on call after call in the last 2 years. And some of you know I exited one of the ethanol plants that I was invested in, working on another. I think ethanol's great. I think it's the best thing for agriculture. I can't agree more. I have a hard time figuring out a little bit, and that's what we'll discuss, when this transition takes place. I believe, and I've sat on enough calls, that we think transportation is going to be a service with a combination of autonomous and electric. There's a lot of talk that cars will eventually, you'll peak out at 245, 250 million cars, and by 2030, 2050, you may drop to 45 million cars. In the rural communities, you'll have a different perspective, like I do back home. You're like, that's just not going to work out here. Well, you're right. It might not work out there. It might not. But what does that do to our overall consumption? I don't know. I think that's what has to be discussed. You're seeing some major oil players selling off some assets. I don't know. I think it definitely is a topic that we have to debate and just be curious and wonder about. You see this picture up here? That's New York, 1900. See that circle I just threw up there? That's one car. You see it? I got a circle on it, and you can barely tell. You got to kind of look and pick it out. Same street, 1913. See any difference? I circled them for you. There are 2 horses still. But think about the change that had to take place. That's an entire infrastructure change. That's an entire infrastructure change. You had to have fueling stations, roads, all different from horses. Took 13 years right there. I don't know. I don't have the answer on what it's going to take. I think it's going to happen. Let's put it that way. I definitely think it's going to happen. I don't know this time span. Technology and adoption is weird. It works in like an S-curve. It doesn't work straight linearly. We all want to think linearly. Like linear regression, we're going to use what happened back here, and we're going to apply it and move it forward. That's not how it works. Happens in S-curves, more chaotic, in a more chaotic type of environment. So I think that's, it's just things to chew on and think, boy, that I don't know if things are going to be like they were back there moving forward. I don't think they are. We're at an important point. I learned this, and if you guys want any of the slides or take pictures, I don't care. I mean, it helped me. Disruptive innovations, where do they generally come from? It says they start at the low end of a given market with a company using fundamentally different approaches from existing companies. This allows the new entrant to make a decent return where other people don't want to play. And you see innovation start in those areas. So when you're seeing that and you watch it gain traction, like this. For those of you who haven't been here in the summer, I don't know if you've seen the scooters around, obviously not here with the cold. 6 months ago, I was going around talking and nobody even knew what this was. So this summer, I walk out of a bar down here in Kansas City with my kids, and I see a scooter laying on the ground. It's just laying there. I said, holy, what the hell? That idiot kid left his scooter laying there. That'll get stolen for sure in Kansas City. We go down the street, another bar, same scooter laying on the ground outside the bar. I said, holy hell, this kid's nuts. I mean, he just leaving his scooter where the hell he wants. His scooter's going to be gone. My daughter's like, Dad, you're an idiot. She's like, you're getting old, ain't you? I said, what? And she takes her cell phone, just puts it by the scooter, and the scooter fires up. On her phone's an app. They charge you, I think it's $1 or 15 cents to fire it. You drive it. Now our kids drive them everywhere. Down at the plaza, they're all over the place. So and you can just walk out and it's on your phone. You look and you see where they're at. And it shows you, they're located everywhere. Seattle brought in 10,000 of them and did a track on them. For every minute of the day, 7,000 were in use on average. Every minute of the day. That's crazy. So there's technology starting at the low end and massively disrupting. I don't know how that plays out. We see it, though, happening in various spaces. I kind of showed you this maybe last year, Apple getting a contract to mine the moon. We don't know who the hell you called to get that contract, but I think that's interesting that you can mine the moon. And remember, I just wanted to remind everyone, the play is get to the moon. Elon Musk is trying to build fueling stations, him and Bezos. Bezos upped the ante, and I think he hired another 15 to 20,000 people. It's in the process. They got to build these fueling stations. They're going to mine the moon. Takes about, I don't even know what I have up here, 500 million pounds of thrust to get out of the Earth's gravity. Once you get to the moon, though, there's no gravity. You can shoot to all the planets easily. Nothing. Not hard. The race is to get to the moon, refuel, and then you start to shoot around. I don't know. We got in an argument last night at dinner, Andy and I and some of the guys. I was on a call I'll tell you more about with Ron Barron. Ron Barron's, I think he's still the single largest shareholder of Tesla. He owns, I think he's over 1.5 million shares of Tesla, something in that ballpark. But, you know, we think Elon Musk, he's out there. We know he's out there in some of his antics, but, you know, the guy thinks differently. Steve Jobs thought differently. Mark Zuckerberg, people think differently. Those people are people that, you know, we probably have to pay really close attention to in this era, in this space that we're in right now. So I think it's imperative and important to focus on that. Move a little bit more on a personal side. I thought this was such a simple and easy quote. I use it now religiously. Too often, I think all of us focus on the gaps, meaning where we want to be. You're always focused on where you want to be and you feel defeated or feel a little bit like you're not making progress. I think you have to focus on the gains. It's focus on the gains, not the gaps. Same at the farm, same in the business world. And I think it helps keep things in a better perspective. So again, no rhyme or reason to some of them. These are just things that, like I said, made me think a lot. You'll think this is kind of interesting. They say wages and about everything else, if you go back in history, you go about 3 to 4% a year. Property on the ocean, for some reason, 7 to 8% a year, about average. My wife and I are shifting some real estate around and trying to buy different properties on the coast, just kind of kicking ourselves a little bit when we didn't buy on the bigger break, but it is what it is. I think over time you see some things play back out. So, you know, if you're looking to buy some things or to give something to pass along family to family, I know the farm's an important part, but if you're looking to diversify, I think there are probably some opportunities and some things. And I personally like some of the space on the coast. I thought this was interesting. Amazon coming out and saying we're upping minimum wage. And everyone's kind of, yeah. And then I was on some calls with some guys and they said they think it's genius on their part. They said, I think it puts the real heat on Walmart and the others because now Walmart is going to have to pony up and pay higher employment, and then we'll have less money for technology. Think about that in your own space. I mean, they're going to raise the wages on folks in the entire place, in the entire area, and we think that's, you know, probably a really good strategic move. This made me think. This is like with my Facebook position. Howard may tell us better. Some of the bigger money managing funds that are either using quants or algos or AI, it's taking them longer to turn. Once you shift them, so let's just say all the algorithmic information headlines is coming in that's bullish Facebook. To turn that algorithm, you got to have quite a wave of bearish data. Now to turn it again, they're saying it may be 1 to 2 quarters. You have to become a master of sitting and doing nothing. That is very difficult. All the traders in this room will tell you sitting and doing nothing on a position is hard. It's very hard. And I think it's going to get harder because of some of the computer trading models and things of that nature. I'm like you guys, always have a problem hiring people. And maybe some of my processes of hiring people are not the best, as my friends would say, you know. But I sat in and I've really started to hone in a little bit more. I like Zuckerberg saying, never hire anyone you wouldn't hire for yourself. I put up people that were important. Reid Hoffman, the balancing act between who you need now and who you're going to need in the future is crazy. You've got Google and Apple and Amazon hiring people for positions that they don't even know is going to exist in 3, 6, 12 months. I think on the farm, you almost have to be similar. In the ag space, you almost have to hire people that are very accepting to change and flexibility. I think it's critical as we move forward because if you have to shift and change a lot in your ag operation or on your farm, I mean, you can't be having guys scream, kick, drag their heels. I mean, they got to be willing to make the moves and be more flexible. This was a good one. I think this is, best digest this one carefully. Irrelevance happens when the speed of change outside an organization is greater than the speed of change inside an organization. I promise, think of that again. Irrelevance happens when speed of change outside an organization is greater than the speed of change inside. Tell me what's happening with GM. What's happening with GE? I can go down the list. It's hard for them to turn. It's hard for them to move their turrets once they're locked in. And once that's where the profits are coming from, and once you're a publicly traded company, it's a whole different game. Front-end gross imperative, how you turn and move, is tricky. And I think it's just more trickier than ever with such fast change going on outside of your organization. It's easy to become irrelevant. Let's just put it that way. Extremely easy to become irrelevant in today's space. I think the farmer has to hammer that home. You know, we all sit and say, well, this is how my daddy did it and his daddy did it, and this is how we're going to do it. I think that's a death sentence almost. I think that's going to be hard to see. I heard a guy speak one time. He said there are very few companies that have lasted over 100 years. And think about some of the farms in this room. They've made it over 100 years. You guys have made it over 100 years. That's unbelievable to think that you've made it that long. But I'm telling you, be heads up. The speed of change outside is look out there in that room out there. Watch what you hear at the conference. I don't want to see anyone in here become irrelevant from the ag side of things. So I think you got to ask questions and you got to be on your toes here and kind of really introspect and look at your operation and organization and see where you can do something. I'm always just trying to challenge your way of thinking. So we're in a little CEO meeting. Bob Nardelli, it was CEO of Home Depot, and guy was CEO of Payless, became friends of our families, and I did some business consulting with them, and this came across my desk 3 months ago, maybe. And it was a questionnaire. You know, everybody puts out these questionnaires, all the ag companies, everyone else. You know, rate our service, rate this, rate that. A lot of people, especially in small business owners, you get back to survey, and let's say someone circles, they're a 0, 1, 2, or 3, 4 down there. That's where you guys will focus, and you'll want to fix them. You'll want to help them. Those aren't the people you want to help. The theory in the theory on that, especially as we've shifted and turned more as social media and social networking and things have changed, you'll never convert them. Is what we keep getting feedback. You will not convert the 1s, 2s, or 3s to move up the channel and become brand ambassadors of your company. You will not convert them to become big, heavy payers or users. And a lot of CEOs are wasting a lot of money on the low end. You better try and convert, like I said, this is just a scale of 0 to 8. You better try and convert your 5s and 6s to 7s and 8s. You better try and bump them one. And that's where you have to focus. You have to try and get just a slight bump up in the channel. So I think it's important. One of the things that we've tried to focus on in our organization. So I think you got to dial in more, shoot more with a rifle than a shotgun these days, and it's going to be tough, and you got to think about things. This made me think. Some of the guys saw this down at Memphis. I was at a conference, and I was kicking my feet on making an investment because I come from a small rural town, mid-America, just like you guys, right down 30 miles outside Kansas City. In my perspective, as I got older, I want to keep my same perspective for some reason. I have a hard time, and I just have a hard time taking a different look. And my daughter comes to me and says, Dad, she's an architect, 3rd year down at Arkansas. She said, Dad, I think I'm going to do an internship out on the West Coast. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go, I said, babe, here we go. So Michelle and I love the West Coast to visit. Nothing against you Seattle guys that are here and the other folks from California. But I started to think, and I kind of made I made an off-the-cuff derogatory statement about an investment based on the millennials and some of their choices. And the guy sitting next to me, he's a younger kid. He's sharp as could be. He says, I think you're looking at that all wrong. He's like, do you understand 1 in 8 Americans live in the state of California? I said, whatever. He said, go look it up. 1 in 8 Americans live in the state of California. Chew on that. You want to add New York in? We had New York in. So when I sit at dinner meetings last night with most of my friends who are extreme to the right, I wonder. I mean, as everyone in this room, I wonder. It's not the same America that it was 30 years ago. We all say we would like it to go back to that. We'd like it to go. It's not going to. It's not going to go back to that. It's a different country. Like I said, things are different. You need to go to the coast. If you haven't been to LA in a while, swing on out, check it out. Interesting, to say the least. It's wildly different from the Midwest. And I don't probably need to tell you guys that, but I'm just saying, we sit there in our heads and say, how can this be possible? Or how can these kids pay $10 for a burrito and $8 for a coffee and they can't even pronounce what they're ordering at Starbucks? They can. The Fed worries about it and wonders about it. We've sat in 2 meetings with the Fed. Same thing, same worry. I don't know. But the United States is changing. We have to, whether you agree, we have to recognize it and probably adjust accordingly. This is one that'll really I'm almost done. This one kind of weirded me out a little bit. So my wife got me into it. My wife does hot yoga, an hour and a half. Oh, you need to do yoga, honey. We'll lose some weight, and this shit. So I was doing yoga and different meditation things. So I'm on this call, and the guy says, "What's her name?" Can't think of her name. Nicole Kidman. All right. Nicole Kidman had to reverse somehow or another the Botox thing. I started thinking, what we always heard mind over body, right? You always heard mind over body. I'm not kidding you now. This made me stop and think. They said a lot of the women and even the men who are getting the surgeries done and the Botox thing done tightens the face up. When they smile, it doesn't trigger the right muscles into your brain, and you don't release the right happy stuff out of the brain. And so she was having serious depression problems and other things, and fighting serious depression and other types of problems. And she went to someone, a guru, and they said, face is too tight. It won't trigger to the brain to release the right enzymes. And I thought it was nuts, because we keep hearing of more and more people battling depression, more and more people doing things. And maybe the body does control the mind to some degree. Maybe the body is the body over mind. I don't know that, but it definitely made me stop and think. And like I said, I'm sure she has the money to have the best of the best. So this last one is just fun. Alina Group, Nick Kokonis was a trader in Chicago. He traded at the Merc when I was there. Left there, kind of threw some money at a restaurant deal. I think they have the most Michelin stars now in the U.S. This book's a cool book. It's the Aviary Cocktail book. They had a bar they started. So Michelle and I went to a party, kind of a cool idea. They set up little stations. It was called an idea party. And you made different types of drinks at the party. They had all the ingredients at one of the stations. It gave people things to do and things to talk about. But I thought it was just cool that he's turned this into, he Ubered this restaurant into this huge success and huge money-making deal. Right now, if you go, listen to this, the menu prices scale like your Uber. In busy times, you got to pay up for Uber if you're at a place where it's busy. So on Saturday nights, 8 o'clock, menu prices are more expensive. He's like, I can't understand how the restaurant business works. It never worked like trading. Trading, everything was, it set its own price based on demand. So he went in and started this concept. So you want to go, and they've got Michelin, like I said, some of the most highly acclaimed Michelin chefs in the United States, for sure. You want to go in on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock when he said we used to be bare. You can eat cheap. It's cheap. Doesn't cost that much, and you can still have the same experience, and they're full all the time. And if you want to be a big baller, roll in at Saturday night at 8 o'clock when everyone else in the room all the big ballers are in the room. Hey, pay up, and you get the same food. So I just thought it's crazy to think that we really are going that far with data and moving things forward in that scope. So Thought it was very interesting. We may see more of that even as we play forward. So